Hello, San Diego. Welcome to the Real Estate Debate, where we debate the hottest topics in San Diego real estate. And we've got quite the lineup for you today. We are starting out with a real estate agent with I Sell the City Real Estate downtown San Diego. He's tall, kind of dark, super handsome.
I love
Please
it.
welcome Jason Cassity. Next, we have the loveliest of the bunch, aside from another lady.
Oh.
She's the owner and realtor of the Lisa Ruiz team at Steel Canyon Realty. She loves San Diego and San Diego loves her. Please welcome Lisa Ruiz.
Thank you.
Up next, he's pretty fly for a white guy. CEO of the Silberhomes Group, Keller Williams San Diego Metro. Please give a warm welcome for Ricky Silber. And finally, the other loveliest of the bunch, we have Savvy Agent, owner, creator of Savvy SoCal Home Buyer Education Program. She is getting smarter with us on Smarter San Diego and giving you the scoop. Please welcome Lauren Taylor. And now the time has come for our favorite of the bunch. He is newly engaged. He's making San Diego smarter. Please welcome the host of our real estate debate, Mr. Derek Evans. Woo!
Hey, it's good to see you. What's up, my friend?
Hi.
Hey, what's going down? What's
Yo.
going down? All right, it's that time. It's time for the debate of San Diego real estate. And we have an amazing panel. I'm super excited about all four of you being here today. Thank you so much for your time, by the way.
Thank you.
Hot
Congratulations.
topics. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Super excited.
Off the
myself.
market.
Great guy.
I'm off the market.
Yeah.
Multiple
We don't
offers.
get rings, though.
We don't, yeah. Multiple offers.
Highest and best.
The highest and best won
Best
it
and
out.
final.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a it was a great weekend. So thank you all so much for recognizing
Congrats.
that. Two big topics today, and in fact, I will give credit where credit is due for these topics because Ricky brought to my attention that we should talk about Redfin today. And Lauren has already been on Smarter San Diego talking about the mortgage cross-quals. It's such a hot topic, and a lot of people chimed in. Some people unwilling to do it publicly, which I understand. There's relationships out there, there's things and whatnot. But these, I think, are two big ones for home buyers and home sellers out there. So let's jump right into topic number one. Redfin. Is it a good thing for home buyers and home sellers? I would say or home sellers, even. Agree or disagree, and tell us why. Ricky.
Let me set my cup down. I would disagree. And I'll give you two reasons why I would disagree that it is a good thing for home buyers and home sellers. First of all, if I call 10 agents right now and ask them if they would rather take a Redfin offer or any other offer, I guarantee 8 of them will say any other offer. So that puts you at a pretty severe disadvantage in this market where inventory is super low.
But why? Why do you believe it? Because that's obviously not a real statistic. I mean, you're just saying.
No, I mean,
guess.
my friends, I think it is a real statistic. I'm willing to prove that on air. From a cooperative standpoint, it is very difficult because there tends to not be a single face for the name. If you ever do a deal with Redfin, you will see that you are CC'd on emails with like 15 people. And typically the person who writes the offer is not the person who showed the property, is not the person who will fill out the agent visual disclosure, and is not the person who will attend the inspections. Which brings me to my second point. From the perspective, I think that it's really important, more so probably for newer, first-time home buyers, but even for experienced people, I think that it's important to have a single point of contact who guides you through the entire process, rather than handing you off for various showings and inspections. I recently had a transaction that went sideways where the agent who wrote the offer had never even been to the property. She didn't show it. She didn't attend the inspections. In fact, there was 5 different people between the showings and all of the inspections that took place, and ultimately I think that that was an overwhelming experience for the buyer, who ended up actually walking away from the deal because I feel that his team was unable to articulate the reality of the situation because there wasn't a single point of contact for them.
So is that your main beef then? There isn't a single point of contact?
My main beef with Redfin, first of all, I would like to say that their technology is spectacular. I think that their website is what every portal and agent website should ascribe to be. But I think that it's a huge disadvantage for the fragmentation of the points of contact.
Okay. Lauren, what do you think about this Redfin thing?
I think that real estate is a hyper-local industry in general. I think that people who immerse themselves in the community and have a direct connection with buyers and sellers are going to fight stronger and harder for the best interests of those buyers and sellers if they have a direct relationship with them. I think that they have great technology. I don't dispute that at all, but it's a burn insurance system. You put people through a system and they go down a conveyor belt, right? So they're trying to systemize the process in an industry that I don't think can be systemized in that way.
How come? Is it because there are just too many variables?
I totally agree with his example. I think there's too many variables. I think that in order to negotiate confidently on your client's behalf, you have to have an intimate knowledge of their abilities and their understandings, and I don't think 15 people can have that. I think that you have to know each individual's client's capacities, and when you fragment it so much, you take one away from the other, you're ultimately going to put both buyers and sellers at risk.
Okay. Interesting. Wow. Some legitimate points here. I mean, I wonder what the other side of the aisle has to think. Jason Cassity?
I'm a fan.
You like Redfin?
Yeah, I like Redfin. Now, from an agent's perspective, I know agents who work at Redfin and things like that, and I know it's a different setup. I know they receive salary as opposed to commission and things like that. So the whole thing is kind of different. They're in essence, I guess you could say a discount brokerage or something like that. But I think it comes down to the fact that, again, anytime you provide the consumer access to more information and an easier way to search for homes, which is what Redfin has done, their site and their apps are amazing, right? They're going to beat out any Berkshire Hathaway website or something, maybe only comparable to Zillow.
Oh, Berkshire, huh?
Sorry, put in X brokerage, right?
Website.
Their website and their app is better than my website and the app, right? And I realize that my consumers are going to be starting their home searches online and probably on Zillow or Redfin when it comes to ease of use. And so anything that provides more convenience and more information to the client, and in most cases, the value added of getting the cash back at closing and the lower cost to sell outweighs, and here's where the key is, it outweighs a bad real estate agent, traditional bad real estate agent, which unfortunately the number is higher than it should be. So if you have a great real estate agent, the value added there can probably overcome the Redfin value prop of getting cash back. Unfortunately, not all real estate agents are good at what they do. And so over half of the deals done in San Diego County were done by part-time agents who did 2 deals or less last year, right? There's your aunt who has a real estate license who does that. Redfin agents can beat that. And obviously, they're thriving in this market because that void was there and they filled it, and they're doing a great job filling it. Anything that disrupts the industry and makes real estate agents evolve, I'm for.
Yeah, I like it. I think anything that gives you options,
yeah.
Options are good.
Yeah.
So it's a different option.
Yeah.
So I like it because of that as well. Lisa, what do you think about Redfin?
I'm going to say I'm going both ways on this. I 100% agree with Ricky and Lauren that I was just saying this morning about one of my buyers, I invest myself like 500% in my clients, and if they win a victory, I'm super excited. If they don't get their offer accepted or something goes wrong, I'm just as devastated as they are because I invest my knowledge and my experience and my heart into what they're doing. And if you have that blend, which I think all 4 of us seem to have, that blend of knowledge, expertise, and an investment on our clients, you can't beat that. You can't beat being a good realtor and caring about your clients and caring about the home they're buying or the home they're selling and what's going to happen down the road for them. As far as Redfin's concerned, I totally agree that it might be for some people. I was actually once a Redfin partner agent, so I have worked the system for a number of years. I know how their system works. They have it down to a science. Their technology is insane. I use Redfin sometimes to look up homes. I mean, myself, it's just easy. I know how it works. You just log in and your information's right there, and the way that they portray it seems to be friendly to the mass majority of people.
Yeah.
But some clients, some buyers, they might just want that 50% commission. I mean, for some of this, it's like $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. It's a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So they might not care about the personal connection. And I mean, the Redfin realtors, they do know what they're doing, but it is hard when you have. I mean, if I never went to my clients' inspections, how would I know to be able to help them write a good request for repairs, or if they should even be buying this house?
If you've never even seen it at all.
If you've never seen the house, how do you? Yeah, I mean that's a problem. I would feel like, I'm signing that contract. There's got to be some kind of liability there to be able to say like, oh, I've never been to the house. Sorry.
I would love to also just respond to what you said, and I think this is a topic about like the rebate system, right? So there's a lot of companies out there offering rebate systems. whether it's a referral fee that goes back to him or directly back to the client, right?
Right.
Well, I think that if we're having that conversation, the question also needs to become, for my clients, like, don't make a $500,000 decision. If we're looking at average price points in San Diego of $560,000, don't make a $500,000 decision off a $5,000 rebate.
Exactly.
$5,000 is the blink of an eye. We all get it on the listing side, right, where someone's trying to, combat you on your listing price, and I'm like, this is $1 million house. We're fighting over $5,000. Like, $5,000 can be negotiated in a blink of an eye.
Right.
When we're getting to the prices, we're not in a very rural area. We're looking at like $100,000 homes that are being listed. Our average price point. I think that it's important for people to look for that quality versus look for necessarily the rebates.
But I think that value added, if that $6,000 is still $6,000, and to someone who's maybe tight on their margins when they're getting ready to sell, or just any $6,000 is still $6,000. That's going to matter to some people if they don't feel that the value that they can get from a normal real estate agent is more than the value that they can get from Redfin. And that's where it goes back to
you
having...
You should be able to, as a good realtor, be able to negotiate that for them.
100%.
So there's no reason why, if somebody came to me and said, oh, well, this realtor is going to give me $5,000 towards my closing costs. Okay, well, I could, as a good negotiator, get the same credit from the seller for you.
100%.
It's the same dollar for dollar.
And that's the other side, right? Is that you're making the assumption that the realtor agent and the non-Redfin agent is going to be able to negotiate the same deal. Well, if you're looking at the caliber of agent that Redfin's recruiting, I'm not saying that they are greater or less, but if you're looking at someone looking to go from a commission-based system to a salary-based system, is that going to be those top agents that are going to be able to negotiate that stronger deal?
I disagree with that. I think the Redfin agents they're just as good as any other agents. I think the problem is that the bell curve, a lot of the traditional agents are not as good as maybe the four of us. And so that's why I say I've had that value proposition where I said, you're going to get $6,000 back. I'm going to earn you more than $6,000 because I know my hyper-local knowledge of the market. I know that there was 2 comps that are off-market that sold. I can use that in the negotiations. 80% of the other real estate community may not be able to do that, so Redfin makes sense for them.
I get what you're saying, but I don't like that argument because basically what you're saying is that the real estate industry is full of mediocrity, and so it doesn't necessarily matter if somebody chooses a Redfin agent over somebody that's subpar. I think that just that in and of itself is a huge debate topic that could go, on a completely separate tangent. I think that it's really important for the people who take this industry seriously to go out of their way to show that we're not all shysty and really kind of set the bar a lot higher than it has been set.
Consumer
I feel like
education. We put together an entire program based on community education, and one of our most our most publicized things I have is the top 5 things you should ask every realtor when you interview them.
You have to do your homework.
I want our clients to start asking us harder questions so that they can recognize someone who maybe is a part-time agent or hasn't had the proven track record of success, and then be able to differentiate on their own. And by doing that, raise the level of discourse across the board.
You're right in that sense. It's that I think the reality of it is, though, is that the real estate industry, there is a lot of mediocrity. Again, when you go back to that, half of the deals were done by 2 deals or less, and that's because Aunt Sally or Uncle Joe has a real estate license, and they're giving mediocre service. The top 10% of the industry is leaps and bounds better than the Redfin model because of the flaws that they have in the model, which is the compartmentalization like you're talking about. That's a flaw. That they're well oiled in their flaw, but it's still a flaw compared to having someone carry you through the whole thing. But only 10%, 20%, I don't know that's a statistic, I'm just saying the top end of the curve provides that service. Unfortunately, and it's evidenced by Redfin thriving, there's a big problem with the industry, and it's whether it be mediocrity or whatnot, or just maybe the agents aren't that good. I don't know. That Redfin thrives in because of that.
Well, there's multiple reasons.
Create a gap for sure.
Yeah, let's identify that because we've kind of gone back and forth on the commission. I haven't stepped in yet on that, but you're right. That as an offer seems in a certain way as a greater value than it is because it assumes something that all agents are going to get you the same price. Your house is worth what your house is worth, and that's definitely not true. But as far as what Redfin has done in the community, they provided another option. Right? It's another option. It's something that's different. They have an incredible technology which is going to get them clients all by itself. And they do have a different offer out there. If you look at the big brokerages, because they're a big brokerage, they're a huge brokerage. Look at the other big brokerages. And I'm not going to name names, but you know who the names are. Keller Williams, Century 21, Coldwell Banker.
So you are going to name names, just to be clear.
Let me just give you Berkshire Hathaway. They crush.
They're number 1.
They crush those brokerages as far as what they're able to offer to the average person. So we're talking about the median, the average over a big scope. Now, if you go into any one of those other offices and you pick the top 5 agents out of it, they're going to probably crush the Redfin experience. So they're filling a hole in the middle ground. There's a huge gap between your full-time good agents up here and the majority down here, and they're filling in that hole quickly. And there's a lot of space there to be filled, and that's why they're growing so fast.
Well, to tie in everything that everybody all said, I mean, essentially, you're correct. People don't necessarily know what questions to ask, and that is a deficiency of the industry just altogether. I mean, we need to be educating our clients, and the point is that you said that this industry, you're into disruption. I mean, I think that the disruption that needs to happen is that the good agents need to step up and really set themselves apart in a major way, so that the difference becomes so apparent, so that the question that the clients are asking isn't, is it worth it to take a $5,000 rebate or do this? I mean, that's not the right question, but you only know that if you're in the industry. We're not doing a good job as an industry, not in individual agents, but we're not doing a good job as an industry talking about the pitfalls of buying or selling a home. I mean, it's not like buying a used radio on Craigslist. I mean, there's a ton of liability that comes along with that, and I think that it's a really important and emotional experience for a client to be having, and that's why I disagree with the compartmentalization, because I think that part of the reason we do get paid so much and that we're not salaried is because you need to be next to your client, holding their hand from point A to point B through the finish line 100% of the time, because it's a huge thing in their life, and you have an opportunity to make that an amazing experience or something that's either forgettable or going to leave a bad taste in their mouth and do nothing to further the industry.
Well, there's plenty of people who've had good experiences with Redfin too.
Oh, yeah.
Keep that
Sure.
in mind.
Oh,
So
yeah,
we can pick out bad situations and say, oh, well, there was this one time where that happened and all that stuff.
But don't you think
There's
that they're
two
not
types
going to
of-
go back? The client's not going to go back to Redfin again if they want to sell their house. I mean, it's like a.
It should work itself out,
I hate
right?
to say the whole turn and burn theory, but it is. Like they come, they buy their house, they move on. It's not like my clients where I stay in touch with them, I communicate with them, I have parties for them. They become my friends. There's most of my database is friends of mine now because they were my clients. Yeah. But the Redfin model isn't that.
Very true.
They're not one that's going to say like, oh, well, we'll do business again someday. It's just we're done, move on to the next one.
Yeah, they're counting on that value proposition remaining valuable for the next time you go to make that decision.
Right.
It worked for you this time. We're counting on that working again for you next time. But they do work really hard on the experience as well. But you're right. The one thing that does stick out from just a compensation drives behavior standpoint is that your Redfin agent has very little skin in your deal.
That's exactly what I was
So
going to say.
if if you get the house or don't, it's not going to make
They're
a
gonna
very
get their
big
direct deposit
difference
anyway.
from
Yeah,
them.
exactly.
So it's not going to affect them a whole lot.
Exactly.
Whereas your traditional agent is right there next to you.
Yeah, the skin in the
You're
game.
looking at two different experiences, right? You're looking at the consumer's experience, which we're talking about can be fragmented, but you're looking at the agent experience. And when I'm in a transaction with any realtor on this couch, right? There's a relationship. We were just talking about this before we came into this room, was how does the agent relationship drive? And when there becomes a bump in the road, there's always inevitably going to be one, right? Is your agent going to be apt to helping everyone find a solution because they still want to purchase that home, or it doesn't matter because they're getting paid either way? For me, I would rather be working with someone who has a vested interest to try to find solutions when problems arise. And I don't think that model supports that.
For sure.
And it always arrives, right? I mean,
They always arise. It's inevitable.
I agree with you
People
guys on
could
the
argue
cost.
the other side of that too, though, and say, well, they're not as much invested in it, so they'll be more apt to tell me that I shouldn't buy this house.
I completely disagree. So on the
You know,
other side of it, when
it's
you're talking
possible.
about compensation of real estate agents, and we talk about the segmentation of part-time agents versus full-time agents, I would argue for the top 5% of realtors in San Diego, quite honestly, like you not buying a house is not going to impact my bottom line greatly. So it's more my reputation of being a unbiased advocate for you is more valuable than any one deal I could ever do.
Again, because that's the top of the bell curve or whatever,
Yeah,
the top
most
of the
people
thing,
are not
right?
that way, though.
And yeah, unfortunately, I mean, you have to be transparent, you have to be self-aware. Unfortunately, the real estate industry has kind of a rep for sometimes being like salesmen or sleazy or looking for the commission and things like that, and it's out there, and so
And it
yeah,
happens. It's
happen-
real.
It
It happens.
It's a real
It's super
thing, and
real.
unfortunately, Redfin, you know what I mean. So, I don't know. They're not tied to the commission, so I could see why people like that and they gravitate toward that.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But again, yeah, and it's for the top performers and the really good, passionate real estate agents who love their job and are hyper-local and love their clients, Redfin's not going to be a problem necessarily, because that's not the void. We're not even competing with them.
Right.
They're starting from the bottom up and taking out Aunt Sally and Uncle Joe. Aunt Sally and Uncle Joe are going to hate me after this. all the real estate agents that are taking iPhone photos and putting them on the MLS and then never showing it, and all those agents are getting burned out by Redfin and Zillow
And
and
I don't
things
think
like
that's
that.
a horrible thing.
I don't think so either. It's evolving the industry.
It
and it's
raises
good for the
the entry
Correct.
level.
And you're 100% right, and you are 100% right. I guess the problem that I have with it is just that.
So you agree we win, right?
I agree, yes,
Even though
you guys both won. I guess like my biggest problem with it is just that I think, I have a problem with the way the industry is and the reputation that goes along with this industry that I love to be a part of. And I'm more on the side of like wanting the change and disruption to be moving back toward like a craftsman specialist type thing where, we're valued for our expertise, and the Redfin model takes the opposite side of that argument and tries to move it into more of like a manufacturing line sort of model, which is kind of what I'm trying to get away from.
Right, but so I think all four of us agree that we choose not to invest ourselves in that kind of a product or a business. That's not how we do business. And so our world that we touch, the clients that we touch, the arm's length that we can reach, they're not going to have that effect because we're going to do our best for them. And it's not like, I feel like Redfin's going to be there. They're probably going to grow a little bit even more, and I can't let them affect me in my business. And if my clients went to go work with a Redfin agent, I don't know what I would have to say, but I don't think they would, because they know that there's a better experience and there's more knowledge, and
because you provide a better value proposition than the $6,000 back.
And I can't worry about the people that are going to work with the Redfin ones. That's just, they're always going to be there. But it also makes you step up your game. It's like going on Win This Listing. Do a little plug here. My listing presentation changed 500%, and it's been so much better. When you know that there's companies like Redfin out there, you're going to just do better for your clients, because it just motivates me to keep myself.
I guess in that way, it's like a super exciting time too, to see. To see it push everyone to raise the bar.
It does. It makes you, and it takes the Aunt Sally's out of the picture, because they can't keep up with that, or us. So it's not a bad thing, really, to have that.
Which is the real threat to the industry, is
totally
the part-time agents who are doing substandard work.
Correct. Yeah. So if they fill that void, they are providing a service. It's a step. It's a step in a direction that is maybe not ideal for what everyone wants and thinks, but you're not just going to go from 0 to 100. There's going to be evolutions that take place. And what Redfin realized was that, gosh, half the deals being done out there are being done by part-time people who really aren't doing a whole lot. Look at what we can do. We can provide all this stuff, and I think we'd go grab some of that market share. And it's exactly what they're doing. All right, let's go to topic number 2 before we run out of time. This one, Lauren, this one's near and dear to you, and you've sort of made your opinion known on this one. Mortgage
I haven't read the comments yet. I'm
You
terrified.
haven't?
No.
Oh, you should.
Perfect.
You should.
No one knows
Mortgage cross-qualifications. We call them cross-quals. This is where you have a home listed as an agent, and you have your lender, someone that you know who's in the mortgage industry, also qualify. Make sure that the buyer or anyone who submits an offer is qualified, that they can get a loan, basically. That person might be getting a loan from someone else, but you're saying, no, you have to give your stuff to my guy. My guy has to say that you're qualified. That's a cross-qualification for people who don't know what that means. So what we're saying here in topic number 2 is that mortgage cross-quals should not be allowed. Agree or disagree, Jason?
Should be illegal, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
I disagree with that. I think mortgage cross-quals are good.
I think they're good.
Yeah, I think they're good for the industry. I think there's a way that it gets done sometimes where one agent will require that you talk to their lender and do some stuff, and it ends up being more like a sales pitch for their lender, which isn't. That's a question more about ethics, I guess, not legality. I think the legality of it, I think it's legal. In fact, there's times where I get pre-quals or pre-approvals or things like that from lenders, but they didn't do their due diligence. Sometimes they didn't even pull credit, or they didn't do something. You can get a pre-qual in 5 minutes if you call someone just based off what they said. And my seller wants to, they should have the option to pick the best offer. So they should have the option to have it reviewed by their preferred lender. Again, there's RESPA violation. You can't force someone to use another lender, but having the cross-qual there, I think, is good for the seller, because it gives them they know they can trust the information that's there on that buyer profile.
Okay, so you think it's worth it because it helps the seller determine what the best offer actually is.
Exactly. Now, again, there's the side-offs where it turns into chance for the other lender to try to steal the business. And that's, to me, that's more an ethical question, which is it's wrong. It shouldn't be happening that way. A real cross-qual is where the lender actually contacts the other lender and provides what they use to make the pre-qual, and then that lender can use that information. The other lender doesn't even need to necessarily talk to the buyer in a real cross-qual situation.
Okay, that's Lauren.
Kind of my thought.
It's a tough one, right? Because we, as listing agents, we all want to protect our sellers. I mean, the worst thing that you can do is have off-market time impact the value of the property because a buyer is doing something, they're saying they can do something they can't do. But I believe that it should be regulated in terms of how it's happening. I don't think that buyer communication with the cross-qualified lender should be happening at all. I think it's a violation of consumer rights for them to be forced into a situation where they're speaking and giving financial records to someone they have no desire to use. And I think that when we also go even further to developers who also own their mortgage company, and when there's a relationship there, that it's something that's not regulated yet, and I think that it needs to be regulated. So whether it's ethical or illegal, I'm not sure, but I think that it's something as professionals we should be talking about to protect our buyer clients just as much as we want to protect our sellers.
That's a good point. Ricky, your wife's in the mortgage business.
Yeah, and I totally think that cross-quals are, first of all, I would like to add a caveat that I don't always add a cross-qual to my listing, partly because my wife is a lender, and so I can see how that can be perceived as a conflict of interest, but certainly there are times where a listing is complicated for one reason or another, and it could pose some financing challenges, in which case I absolutely require a cross-qual, because here's my big problem. Lenders are liars. They are.
Wow.
They are. Let me tell you something.
Thanks for taking the heat off me.
Lenders are liars.
And your wife's a lender?
My wife is a lender.
Okay.
But I trust her opinion. So like look, if you're a good listing agent and you receive 5 offers, you're calling all 5 of those lenders and you're trying to get the scoop on just how qualified that person is. And none of those lenders ever say, it's kind of iffy.
Borderline.
They're borderline. It's questionable. I think I can get it through, but I'm not 100% sure. They never once has anybody ever said that. And so, they're just representing their client the best way that they know how by saying it's solid, it's good. There's a huge variation in the way lenders do their back-end process. You can go and get a pre-approval letter on the internet in 5 seconds without submitting any documentation or having your credit pulled. Yeah. And so, when you're representing a seller, it's your duty to ensure that if you place an offer in front of somebody and tell them that you believe it's a good offer, that you know that it is or isn't. And that is a big part of it. I agree with you that it should be a little more regulated, but at the same time, nobody is forcing anybody to do anything. If I have a listing and your client submits an offer and I say, there's some weird stuff here, it's a cloud condo, like I need them to cross-qual with my lender, your client has the option to say, no, I'm not comfortable with that. And that may put them at a disadvantage in terms of the negotiation, but they're still being given an opportunity to not participate in something that makes them uncomfortable.
The system can be improved, though.
But then we're talking about the same thing with real estate agents with Redfin, right? So we're talking about mortgage lenders. The reason why this has become an issue is because there's lenders who have created letters that are not correct. So maybe this is, again, that higher level of entry conversation where, I think letters should be out at this point. We need something stronger to be able to actually verify for sellers and buyers what their actual purchase abilities are.
As a good buyer's agent, I educate my clients and say, okay, here's what's going to happen. We're going to write an offer. They're probably going to come back and say you need to do a cross-qualification, and you teach them what that is and why they want that. And if you have already had a conversation, like my lender is my mom, so I talk to her on a regular basis all the time. I know she knows what she's doing. If a buyer comes to me and says they want to buy a house and I have them qualify with her and she says, I don't know, well, then we're not writing offers, because I'm not going to go stand up for my client and fight for them and then have them be able to not qualify for the house. But some agents do it, right? So with another thing, having a good, educated, smart realtor that knows what they're doing, they also qualify their buyers to make sure that they can buy before they go out and write offers. If you've ever been a listing agent on a property and on day 20, the buyer cancels because they don't qualify, it makes you look like junk.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Well,
really
and
bad
what you're
real
talking
estate.
about exists. I mean, you could request the DU approval instead of the
Completely agree,
letter.
but-
Correct.
Why can't you
100%.
take you don't have to show.
I have my lender sends full DU approval on every single file, but a DU approval is also editable, right?
Sure.
There you go, just like a letter.
Yeah, you don't have to have any proof of documentation before you get. It's okay, Claudia. You can get in the shot.
Jump on it.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I mean,
I'm thirsty.
Thank
you so much.
You
Don.
can try to regulate out the fraud side of it. I don't want to try to spend too much time there because if someone's doing that, like, I mean, that's
a whole other
that's
problem.
a whole other
I don't have
problem.
my
like
cross
editing
qual.
a thing. That's
No, but
you know
if
what I
you're
mean?
going to have, if it's my listing and I require your buyer to cross call with my lender, isn't your lender calling my lender?
That's how it
So
should
having
be.
a
That's
question-
it. It goes back to the
I totally
regulation
agree
of
with
it.
that.
That's
So
Lender
how
to
it
lender
should be. I don't want my
cross-qualification.
buyer
the buyer
calling.
should not be, but a lot of
No.
people do. A lot of agents are like,
Why?
I
All
want
your
you
buyers
because they're
are-
trying to win business for their lenders.
Because yeah, they
buyer's
have a
gonna
deal
be
with their
so
lender to,
confused
you know,
and-
Yeah.
they're probably receiving some sort of a marketing incentive.
Yeah,
But I would
exactly.
never let my
Yeah.
buyer do a cross call for themselves.
But I
That's-
also wonder if it's agent indicated or seller indicated, because that
That
to me
matters.
is also a different situation.
It's agent. It's got to. I mean.
Well,
most
there's a
of the time-
RESPA thing with agents. Agents can't make, you can't make someone choose a lender, but I think when you get
No.
into the seller of the property can choose whoever they want. So they can require a cross-qual, you know what I mean? The rules are a little bit different with if the seller requests it or if the agent requests it. The whole thing is the regulation should be, I mean, the buyer's information should almost even, their name should be blacked out and the phone number should never even be contacted. It's just this
just
is
their
buyer
profile.
X profile.
We do that.
Does this pass the
we
cross-qualify?
redact the personal information.
There you go.
when
Like,
we
that's
send
a
over
better
the
way
packet.
to
Because
do
you're
it.
protecting them, and you don't have a consumer.
Yeah, and then you don't have a consumer. There you go. See?
Exactly.
Solutions are found on this show.
There we go.
Bad.
Oh, I have the
Problem
solution.
solved.
Oh, let's hear it.
I have a solution for
You've
this.
let us just argue this out, and you're
Yes.
sitting here with answers?
Yes, I wanted to let you
Give it to
guys
us.
get it all out.
All right.
Okay. This is the solution. Right now, there's no accountability. Okay. If you want results, you have to have accountability. If you want things to happen in anything, you got to have accountability. There's no accountability if I'm a lender and I write you a pre-qual letter and my buyer doesn't perform. No accountability. There should be a $50,000 fine if you issue a pre-qual letter to a buyer and they cannot perform because of lending. There should be a $50,000 fine you should have to pay the seller.
Something that, not including something that happens after the pre-qual letter, right? If they open a credit card at day 10, that's not the lender's fault.
Something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Some
but-
sort of that says this pre-qual letter is big. Like
Yeah.
your boss has to sign it.
Yeah, yeah.
This means they are approved. Plain
Here's
and
why
simple.
that will never happen. Because the industry isn't built for that. Like there are a handful of lenders who will do upfront underwriting, and the vast majority of lenders don't do that because it ends up being a waste of man hours. Because they're, imagine a company is receiving 10,000 applications a month, to do mortgages. Well, only 2% of those are going to close. And so if they're wasting underwriter hours on underwriting all of these files ahead of time, then that's a huge expense for the company that most companies are not willing to take. There are exceptions to that rule. And
I'm telling you, it's
good
required. I don't
lenders
care what they want to
do
do.
underwriting up
It's
front.
now required. They're making plenty of money. There's plenty of money involved.
Yeah, they'll have to change.
They'll have to evolve. They'll
So you're
have
saying the
to.
lenders, the company that the loan officer works for
Yeah,
is responsible
would be
Yeah.
responsible.
if this buyer ends up not being able to close on this house.
Yes.
Basically,
Based
you're
on the
saying
information
that
at
you
the start.
that you have to present a commitment to lend.
A commitment to
in order
lend.
to move forward
Correct.
on getting your offer accepted.
Yes.
Oh.
Pre-approvals,
No mortgage company would ever.
pre-qual letters. That's all garbage.
My mortgage company will give you a commitment to lend when you write an offer.
So there you go.
With
so
with,
it's
account,
our,
with skin in the game if it doesn't.
Not skin in. Well, I think that a commitment to lend is a legal document. So there is skin in the game to some extent if they're going to go so far as to do that.
could
But
be
they will
sued.
only do that if they have fully underwritten the file.
Yeah.
I'm saying regulation-wise, though. I'm saying it should be a regulation. And the reason is for everything that you guys are saying. It's a very detrimental circumstance to be one of the people who happens to be on the other end, the seller who, I mean, we did one for Win This Listing, episode 6, which is going to be premiering soon. They, they fell out. They fell out. They had given away stuff. They were ready to move, the boxes, all this stuff, and then all of a sudden the buyer can't perform an $800,000 house in Escondido, which they don't sell every, in 1 week.
Were contingencies removed?
I don't know the details with regard to the contingencies or the contract stipulations and whatnot. I do think that they were, because I do believe they got an escrow check, but I mean, we're talking about a few $1,000. And it cost them like 20 grand.
Yep.
I mean, the market shifted. The agent who won worked really, really hard, did so many people to that house. And, the best offer that they got was about $20,000 less than that
Why
one
couldn't
was.
they close?
I don't know exactly, but
Cross-qual?
they couldn't perform on the lending side.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what, so the cross-qual, if
happens.
done properly, with a good lender, can obviously work. But we're talking about the vast majority of situations here, and I think there should be some skin in the game. If you're going to say, hey, listen, this is good to go, it shouldn't just be able to be written on a napkin, and
Well, but
handed
the
over.
problem is that things
true.
change. Just like the market changes, so do people lose jobs. People get, they get transferred out of state. things happen.
Exceptions are okay.
Yeah, there would have to be something where at the date
But
of this
if you
letter.
went and bought a car
Yes.
when I told you not
Correct.
to,
That's
and
now on the
you
buyer.
can't qualify, then that's on the buyer. That's not the lender's fault.
No, there would be some
So how
caveat.
do you figure out, but the buyer's not going to pay?
You would have to say,
even
as of
similar to
today.
that,
There's
you
like
could
some
be
situation where there's an unknown circumstance, like a child support payment that's due or something like that, where the buyer didn't always disclose everything to the lender either, which also can impact their financeability.
I mean, it could be even simpler than that. You could be up against the debt-to-income ratio, and the rate could jump. I mean, and you'd
There
be
you go.
done.
If they're not locked
Yeah.
in.
Well, that's why you'd have to say, as of today,
Yeah, as of
based on locking at this interest rate.
Your rate's
know.
already locked.
Yeah, this is what it would have to
yeah.
be.
So if the buyer does something, opens a credit card or something, the lender wouldn't be on the hook per Derek's new federal regulation.
Yes, per my
Correct.
regulations.
Yeah, the buyer would just
Derek's
screwed the whole thing up.
You know,
or
I'm
something.
just
gonna
interested
start
also
lobbying.
if this is like more of a state issue, because I know that obviously California, we do real estate a little bit differently than other states, where recently I had a listing up in Temecula, and they were very dismayed to find out that they had no repercussions when our buyer canceled after 6 days for absolutely no reason. Whereas other states, I know that there are built-in repercussions in the contract. Like, why don't we just change the expectation for buyers if they cancel contract?
Yeah, like the
Because
liquidated
buyers are
damages
so
type
protected
thing.
in California.
Yeah, I don't, and I
Buyers-
don't think we'll ever put
buyers
anything
get all
on the
the
buyer.
protection.
Yeah, I think the buyer's going to get more protections if not
Yeah, but the
less.
lender-
But the lender should be restricted.
If they're giving you a document, official document saying this is good to go,
Yeah.
and people are making decisions, huge financial decisions based on that, there has to be some sort of regulation,
I agree.
some sort of penalty.
It's above
I
my
mean,
pay
that's
grade, but
happening.
I agree.
That's why the loan contingency exists. I mean, it's the way that the current transaction is designed disregards that. I mean, it's literally you're designed to have 21 days in order to get all of that solidified. And as a seller, you should understand that you're taking on some risk whenever you take the house off the market for a buyer. And it's up to your agent, hopefully, to have done their homework and vetted as best they could the offer that you are accepting.
Yeah, that's true. I guess it goes back to the agent again. You could call, you could do those things. You could call the lender. If you're the listing agent, call the lender, go through everything with them.
Have them tell you how amazing it is.
Yeah.
But no matter what, those first 17, 21 days, your sellers are holding their breath. I mean, because buyers can cancel just for fun.
For anything.
They can come up with any reason. Inspections.
Yeah, it's not a
Found
done
another
deal till
house
the
they
deal
like better.
closes.
And your job representing the sellers
That's the
to
hard
make sure
part.
they don't do things like sell their personal belongings or buy another house or do anything life-changing until they know for a fact those contingencies are removed. And even then, worst case scenario, they're just taking some earnest money and still having a problem.
Yeah, it's a tough situation, but I think we got somewhere today on both topics. How you guys feel? You guys feel okay about your topics today?
Good.
Yeah.
Ricky, did you get enough in?
As far as Redfin?
Yeah.
I feel better.
You feel better?
I feel better.
Got it all out.
I just
You got
wanted to
off-
scratch,
monkey off
you
your
wanted to
back?
scratch that.
I
All
feel
right.
better. I got to scratch the itch.
You're going to be an offer on Redfin property
I was
today.
just
Like,
Yeah. Redfin agents
What's
today.
your name? Click.
It's not
Yeah.
even that. I'm going to go write an offer on a Redfin
Yeah.
listing today,
Exactly,
and
they're
it's
gonna shut
not
you
going to
down.
work out
Oh,
for me.
Blackballed.
Some of the Redfin agents are great. I have a girlfriend that works for Redfin. She's fantastic.
I know some Redfin agents.
I
They're
know
awesome.
some
They're
Redfin
wonderful.
agents that I love.
We're just talking
I
about
won't
the
accept
system.
their
We're not talking
offer,
about the
but-
people. That's the thing. We're talking about the
The
system.
Yeah, I agree.
And like, Derek, you're coming up with these ideas, right? There you go. There's your next business. Fill that middle market.
Yeah.
Run for
Put your money where
office.
your mouth is.
Let's do it.
Issue
Yeah.
a letter, pay you 10 grand.
Can I just make rules? Can I be the king or
You can.
something?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that? How do we do
Sure.
this? Okay.
It's your show.
Whatever you want.
Thank you guys so much for your time today. Really, really appreciate it. Fantastic debate. Wow, I learned a lot. Hopefully you did too. Of course, we will be back again next month. Same time, same Facebook channel. We will see you then.